All right, let's talk about something that's so woven into the fabric of our world, we barely even think about it: political parties. I mean, they're basically the operating system for modern politics, right? They're the go between for us, the people, and our governments. But here's the question: are they actually working like they're supposed to?
And that brings us to the big puzzle we're going to try and solve in this explainer, this idea that political parties are in a serious crisis.
So, are political parties obsolete? I mean, it's a huge question because, on the one hand, they completely dominate our political lives. But on the other, you can't ignore the signs that they are in a pretty steep decline. So, what is really going on? And look, this decline isn't just some vague feeling, it's real, and you can measure it. Let's just take the UK as an example. Back in the 1950s, a pretty healthy 7% of voters were card carrying members of a political party. And today, that number has absolutely cratered to just 1%. That is a massive, massive drop off in engagement. And this is where the contradiction really gets weird. We're seeing this explosion of anti party movements and populist leaders who literally run on a platform of tearing down the establishment. And yet, even with trust and membership at rock bottom, if you actually want to get power, you still pretty much have to start or join a political party. It's still the only game in town. So, to figure out this mystery, this clash between decline and dominance, we've got to go back to square one. Let's dig into what political parties are actually supposed to be doing for us. Okay, so the textbook definition is pretty straightforward. A political party is basically just a group of people who've gotten organized for one main reason: to win power in government. Simple as that. Whether it's through elections or some other way, the goal is to be in charge. But just winning power is really only the beginning. A healthy party does a ton of heavy lifting for a democracy. Think of it as six critical jobs. They represent our views. They find and train the next generation of leaders. They figure out the big goals for the country. Then they do this really important thing called aggregation, taking all these different competing interests in society and bundling them into a coherent platform. They also get us off the couch and mobilize us to vote and get involved. And then, if they win, they're the ones who actually organize the government. Every single one of these is a vital piece of the puzzle. Let's just zoom in on that mobilization part. This is what it looks like out in the wild. You're seeing supporters for the Malta Labour Party here, and it's the perfect snapshot of that energy. Parties connecting with people on the street, firing them up, and getting them to participate. Okay, so the next clue in our investigation is realizing that not all parties are created equal. They come in all different shapes and sizes, so let's break down how we can classify them. Now, the one we all know is the classic left-right divide, right? This idea goes all the way back to the French Revolution, believe it or not. And it's really a shorthand for these deep-seated clashes in values. You've got progress versus tradition, equality versus hierarchy, and so on. Even if things are way more complicated now, it's still the basic framework we use. Parties are also totally different in how they're built. On one side, you have what's called a cadre party. Think of it like a small, exclusive club of professional revolutionaries or elites, super focused on ideology and discipline. Then you have the opposite, a mass party, which is all about getting as many members as possible and winning elections, even if it means being a little less strict on ideology. And that mass party idea has evolved into something you'll definitely recognize today: the catch-all or big tent party. The whole strategy here is to water down the ideology just enough to appeal to the biggest possible slice of the electorate. It's all about electability over purity. And finally, there's a really critical split in how parties see the system itself. Constitutional parties play by the rules of the game. They accept the results of elections. But then you have revolutionary or anti-system parties. Their goal isn't to win within the system, it's to tear the whole thing down, maybe even by fusing the party and the state together. Okay, so we know what parties do and the different types that are out there. Now let's zoom out to the playing field itself, because the party system, how many parties are competing and how they interact, changes everything about a country's politics. You can basically boil party systems down to four main kinds. You've got a one-party system, no competition, that's it. A dominant party system where other parties can exist but one just wins all the time. Then there's the two-party system where power swings back and forth between two big players. And finally, a multi-party system where lots of parties compete, which almost always means you get coalition governments. This right here is a perfect picture of a one-party system, the Chinese Communist Party Congress. In a setup like this, the line between the party and the state basically just disappears. They become one and the same. Now, let's flip to the complete opposite. Look at this cabinet meeting in Israel. This is a multi-party system in full effect. It took a coalition of 7 different parties just to form this one government. Can you imagine the negotiations? It's all about compromise and deal-making. A lot of us live in two-party systems, like in the US and the UK. Now, they're often praised because they can be stable and they give voters a clear choice. But the downside? Man, it can lead to some really nasty adversarial politics. And it can feel like your choices at the ballot box are pretty limited. Okay, so we've covered the functions, the different types, and the systems they all play in. Now let's put all the pieces together and go back to where we started. What's next? So here's the solution to our mystery. The crisis that we're all feeling, it isn't a crisis of political parties in general. It's really a crisis of one specific kind, the traditional, mainstream, catch-all mass party. Those old behemoths are getting weaker, and in their place, we're seeing the rise of populist, anti-establishment, and even so-called anti-party parties.
And this whole anti-party feeling is nothing new. It has incredibly deep roots. Heck, George Washington himself warned against parties, calling them a frightful despotism. The populist movements we see today are tapping into that very old, very powerful suspicion of organized politics.
And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. If those traditional parties that have organized our politics for the better part of a century continue to fade away, what exactly is going to fill that void? That's the challenge and the great uncertainty that we're all facing right now. Thanks for joining me.